I truly am thrilled to have the opportunity to remember a really good friend and role model this evening. Her achievements were impressive, but I'm not going to list them here tonight. I think you've had an opportunity to see the reflections from others. And also, there's really nice words and history within the program. So I commend to you the author page award citation and offer a thought on this honor for her. What I'm going to do instead is to kind of convey my own experiences with Gwen. And so I'm going to tell you up front, I'm not going to tell a bunch of stories, because as I thought about it, and I thought about what to say, and it is an honor for me to do this, I would come up with stories. I was talking to my table mates, and including Bert, and I say, yeah, I could tell, no, can't tell that one. You know, oh, but this one would be no. So I'll start with this. We actually met when I joined WABJ, which is the Washington Association of Black Journalists. And it was unexpected because, as you now know, I was never a journalist. Yet I was fortunate to find lifelong friends who cared passionately about their craft and cared passionately about helping others in the profession, especially those of color. One of our colleagues, Kevin Merida, who was a longtime editor of the Washington Post and is now senior vice president at ESPN and editor-in-chief of The Undefeated, actually referred to her as a unicorn. In her case, it's a female African-American journalist on a national stage when such people were simply unknown in that context. Gwen was a unicorn for me and so many other people. Collectively, her best personality traits made her one. One of those traits was a sense of adventure. Now, we all like to believe that we're adventurous, but that world is truly only available to those possessed of courage and perseverance. The price of admission, if one is ever to know the surprises and delights of an adventurous life. If someone is easily thwarted, intimidated, adventure is a hand you can't expect to be dealt. Gwen possessed those qualities in excess. Many of you have heard the story of how she got her first job right out of college at the Boston Herald-American. Again, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about that this evening because elements of it are pretty ugly. And we're actually here to celebrate a life well lived. But suffice it to say, Gwen was impossible to intimidate and was never one to be thwarted. In fact, she had a talent for turning disadvantage into strength, a talent that translated into a list of career firsts. First black woman to host a national political news show, first black woman to moderate a vice presidential debate in 2004 and again in 2008. And so I do remember when she got the call, there was a group of us who had gone on a mini vacation in the south of France. And I will say that once she got that call, we spent the rest of the evening dancing around chairs and drinking up all the limoncello in the house. But that does bring me to another one of Gwen's great strengths, and perhaps her greatest strength. People have referred to it a little bit tonight, but it's about her ethics, her values, or more likely in a word, her character. On a personal level, it expressed itself in kindness and humility. And that was most clearly reflected in how others related to her. You could not know her without hearing about some of these tales or witnessing what would happen when people came up to her. And it's a very human trait to project onto other people we admire those qualities we most flatter ourselves into believing that we have. So Gwen would relate, or people would see, when fans would come up to her sometimes and claim that they knew her. They couldn't quite place her, but in an attempt to kind of underscore and prove their relationship, they would describe themselves or parts of the family, or you remember Uncle George, and tell all these fantastic tales. And always gracious and charitable, Gwen would actually attribute their mistakes to the fact that she was on television. But she would listen. But having known Gwen, I think it was actually something else. I suspect that people were simply drawn to her because they felt a closeness or a kinship. And if I'm right, that's a compliment, in fact, that one could never top in words. On a professional level, her character expressed itself in objectivity and fairness, and we heard about that tonight. Did she have political opinions? Well, she was an American, so of course she did. But you could never tell what they were while she was on the air or when she was on the clock in any concept. This made her the old school journalist. And it's journalism in its best tradition. In this sense, her example is a sadly growing, rare event, and it's becoming less and less the standard every year. But commensurately, it also reinforces her status as that unicorn. So a unicorn and a trailblazer. So many people like me owe her so much. But you wonder how she would react to this award. With grace and with gratitude. But I think she would also credit her family, Bert and others, her Christian faith, and her colleagues. And let's remember that accomplishments happen downstream of character. That's what impacted so many. So much so that she continues to inspire her fans in incredible ways. That was taken the day of the march after the Trump inauguration. No idea who the person was who had the sign, but we all know the person who's on the sign. So on behalf of Gwen's memory and her family and friends and colleagues, all who loved and respected her, thank you for the Arthur Page Award and this wonderful evening. Good night.
Thank you.